Well, thank you for being here this morning. For those of you who's going to see this video at night, good evening. First of all, this presentation is for the students, also for the teachers and maybe some parents. So I'd like for you to keep in mind that I'm trying to talk to all of these groups and all at once. So that's not an easy task, but I have some anxiety of performance this morning because of that, but I'll do my best. I'm just joking. Anxiety in academic and academic performance. First thing I have to say, my lawyer told me don't give any presentation before you tell people what's going to happen. So let me do this first. So the speaker and trainer that you're about to hear is not a psychologist. So please don't come to him with your problem. He's got enough of his own, and he may occasionally use a colored language. It is recommended not to take all of his words and jokes at face value. Do not take anything personally. He's improving slowly. We are asking you to be lenient with him. Thank you in advance for your understanding and your participation. And we can now start. First of all, let me answer the first question that people are asking me every time they meet with me is, how are they the people that I've been working with? And when I look up those pictures that you see now on the screen, the only thing I can tell you is that they are very tall. That's probably what they have in common. But on my 1000 conference, this is my dad, and my mom is even smaller than him. So it was impossible for me to be very tall. But today with you, it's been 19 and 22 second conference that I've been giving. And actually, I don't see myself as being a speaker. I see myself as an entrepreneur and someone who went all the way to help athletes to perform better physically and mentally. So let's talk about those two things today. And the reason why I put your logo there is because we have to be proud of where we come from and and to who we belong. So first thing to remember is this. Every single day we have a lot of information coming to us. Actually, our brain is bombarded with so much information. In one day, human being today has more information coming to him than a human being used to have 100 years ago in one entire year. So my point is we have 350 more times information coming to us than 100 years ago. So my point is this. Do you think that as human being, we are made to get as much information as we do? This is impossible. That's why we are going through a lot of anxiety, because there's too much information coming to us. But the sad news is that most information that we are getting are negative. If we look into the newspaper, radio, TV, or the internet, 86% of everything that we get is negative, and only 14% of what we get is something that is positive. So we find ourselves to be in a very negative kind of thoughts. And this is why our thoughts are most of the time negative. And we talk to ourselves all the time. We'll see that after just a bit further in this presentation, that you'll be able to know that you are responsible for your own anxiety. Some of my anxiety come from my parents. If I had parents that were very worried, well, they had transferred that to me. But I'm also responsible for getting worried myself just by the way I think. And today in our society, we have so much information, and information is, most of the information we get is negative. So let's see what we can do to change that. So first of all, when we read something, we will only remember only 10% of what we read. We will remember about 20% of what we have heard, 30% of what we've seen. Seen and read, it's about, and read and what we hear, it's about 50%. 80% of what you said. So if you said something to someone, if you say something to someone, you'll probably remember what you said, about 80% of what you said. But if you do something, it's about 90%. So that's why I'm always saying that teachers are the best to teach, because they know the knowledge. They have to know it because they're teaching it. And to me, the most important profession on our planet is teachers. And I know, and I'm sad of that we're not taking care of them as much as we should. Because at the end of the day, if we take care of our children, we take care of our future. And the way to take care of our children is by teaching. And teaching for me is so important to get a society that will be responsible for future society of tomorrow. So let's look at it a bit further. When I started to work with the Canadian, and I worked for them for about 3 years, and in the 3 years in a row, we were 28 out of 30 teams. And after Michel and I and Marc Bergerin, we got together, the team was first 3 years in a row. So I was really surprised when we got to the dressing room that we didn't have our logo in the dressing room. And I said to Michel and Marc, how come we don't have our own logo in the dressing room? Because of most of the team in the NHL, the logo is in the middle of the dressing room. It's so important. No one can walk on the logo. But in our own logo, the Canadian is the oldest hockey team in the world, and probably they won 24 Stanley Cups. So I was surprised that in our own dressing room, we didn't have a logo right in the middle of the room. And Michel and I were surprised. So we had changed that with Marc to make sure that we had our logo well positioned in our dressing room. And put your logo, guys, in here because you have to be proud of that. This is the first key to secure your anxiety. When you know where you belong, and when you have friends, when you have people around you, when you can connect and you know that you can have some help, this is key. You have sports psychologists, you have some psychologists with you in the school. And the first thing is when you are going through a lot of anxiety, you have to talk to these people, talk to your teacher, talk to your coaches, and make sure you don't have to go through this with all of anxiety. Most of our anxiety is built in ourselves, but it's created by our own selves, by the goals that we like to achieve, and thinking that if I have some failures, if I'm not successful, this is going to be the end of the world. Actually, there's no one of us, no one can win without losing once in a while. So losing is part of winning, and learning how to lose and learning from losing, learning from mistakes, learning from failures that we had in the past will also secure us by saying, even if I'm not succeeding right now, I'm building my longer success on some of the small failures that I have today. So being proud of where you come from. And what is anxiety? Anxiety, first of all, we have fear, we have stress, and we have anxiety, we have panic attacks. There's so many things that goes into anxiety. But anxiety of performance is the anxiety of being being a fear of about one's ability to perform in a specific task. So we're afraid of the task that we have to perform, and we're afraid of having failures, of missing and making mistakes. So people are experiencing performance anxiety and may worry about failing in a task before it has even begun. So we fail in our own head before we start. So that's why we create a lot of anxiety. And they might believe that failure is the result of humiliation and rejection. And I'll come back to that because this is so important, especially for youngsters. What do people will think about me if I fail? And while performance anxiety can occur with any kind of task. So it's good for children, it's good for adults. I mean, it's anxiety of performance is everywhere in a society because we are in a society of performing all the time. And performance can only occur when you are having fun. And we're not having fun when we are suffering from anxiety. So first of all, in order to diminish the anxiety, the task has to be fun, and I have to make sure that I'm enjoying what I'm doing, not on the results, but on the process of getting there. And I have a good and a bad news for you guys this morning. We have what we say it's called self-talk. It's called soliloque. It's in French and also in English. The word exists in both languages. The self-talk that we have is thinking. When you talk to yourself, you're talking to yourself, you're thinking. And in this thinking, there's so many going on. And if you go in the negative ways, well, you have a lot of fear. But if it's in the positive way, you get a lot of happiness and you feel good. And that's when we perform better. We perform better when we're happy. So I have a good and a bad news. Let's start by the bad news. You are all responsible of your thoughts. Every single day, you have in between 65,000 thoughts, 50 to 65,000 thoughts, and you're responsible of the way you talk to yourself. But I also have a great news for you. is you're also responsible for all of your thoughts. So it depends on you. How do you think and how do you talk to yourself? So when we speak to ourselves, you are the person that speak to you the most is yourself. Every day we have intention of doing well, but we talk to ourselves with intention of, oh, I'd like to perform better, but my attention is not placed in performing, and it's placed on the anxiety. If my intention is to perform well, I have to put my attention on the performance, but having also fun, and making the decision will help me to make the behavior. The behavior is how I will act on what I'm responsible of. But our intention is good, but our focus is not good. The focus is on making mistakes or maybe having some failures, and that's creating a lot of stress. And stress has been developed here in Montreal. Actually, it's a person by the name of Anselier who came in with the word stress at first. And when he moved to Montreal, he went to Université McGill to do the research, and then to do his PhD, and went to Montreal to do a lot of research. And he says that stress is not positive or negative, stress is neutral. It depends what I put into it. So if I'm always thinking that it's going to be tough on myself, well, stress is going to be negative. But stress can also help me perform. Without any stress, we cannot perform. And it's called the anxiety of performing. But when it's at a very good peak, it can help me perform very well, because I don't want to be very relaxed just before I'm competing. I'd like to just get pumped and psyched and be excited by what I'm going to do and not be stressed out. So you have to take out of the word stress and put instead being exciting. This is exciting. This is great. This is a great challenge. And this is how I have to talk to myself. If I do that, my brain will help me do that. So the first wave is the hypothalamus. In my brain, there's a small part that is responsible for the adrenaline and to make me alert and vigilant. If it lasts too long, then I get a lot of the second wave, where I have my performance going down because I'm stressed for too long. So there will be the cortisol. The cortisol is good for our body. It helps you wake up in the morning, and it also helps you with inflammation. But if it lasts too long, it's going to affect two places in your brain. This is called on the both sides of your brain. And this is your memory, the memory of the facts and events that you had in your life. When you have too much stress, well, you feel that now you're not competing well because you lack a lot of focus and concentration, and your memory is a bit, it's not as good when you are too much stressed. So fat storage increase, the muscle decrease, the effect on neurochemistry and neuroelectricity. So our brain works in chemistry and also electricity. This will be affected if I'm stressed for too long. The brain cells will be smaller, and also the immune system will suppress. So I can get sick and get tired. How can I move from this to not being chronic stress? Is by resilience, not resistance. At first we resist, and then if it lasts too long, I'm gonna get sick. But as soon as I say, okay, there's nothing I can do about the stress, let me play with this stress. Let the stress be to invite the stress in. Instead of resisting to your stress, be happy of being stressed. Because when you're stressed, this is the beginning of a great performance. But when the stress is too high, then the performance will decline. So make sure that you're having fun and that you always focus on to perform well and having fun all the time. If the fun is not there, there's no way for you to perform well. So make sure you're having fun and that stress is not taking over you. So what are the three biggest fears that we have in life? The first one is dying. Well, we're afraid of dying, but all of us will die one day, that's for sure. The second thing we're afraid of is suffering. We're afraid of suffering, and of course, in our life, we're going to lose people that we love, maybe a job. There's so many things that will make us suffer in our life. But at the same time, that's why life is beautiful. It's beautiful because there's tough time and there's good time, and the tough time will make me appreciate the good times. So in order to have fun in life, we have to know some time that is tough, so that I can enjoy having fun at the same time. The third biggest fear that we have, and you'll be really surprised to hear that, is public speaking. We're afraid of dying, suffering, and public speaking. What are we afraid of public speaking? To speak in front of people. We are afraid of being ridiculous, to are afraid that people, what they will say about us. We are afraid of judgment. People will judge you. But you know what? No matter what you're going to do in your life, some people are going to judge you and love you no matter what. And some people are going to judge you and try to pull you down to be at the same place where these guys are belonging. So in your life, don't be afraid of getting judged. You're going to be judged anyways. So move forward. And without this, this fear of getting judged, lie a lot of anxiety. The anxiety of performance is really where it stands. What about if I make mistakes? What will other people say? What will my teammates say? What will my coach say? What my parents will? I disappoint my parents. Well, I disappointed my teachers. What about if my grades are not good? My parents will be disappointed about me. And then there's a lot of pressure that is coming from outside. But if you would know that these people, all they're asking for is that you are happy and performing the best you can, and it's about your attitude, how you are going to perform a lot more than the results. So if you're having fun, if you're doing your best, if you give 100% of yourself, even though the result is not as high as you wish, well, the people around you will be happy because you're happy. So don't be afraid. People are not judging you. They're not putting pressure on you, but you're putting pressure on yourself. And in nowadays, I know it's hard because we have all kinds of performance that we need in order to get to the university. You need to have great grades and you're competing all the time. But the only person you're really competing with, it's yourself. You're not competing against anybody in any sports, even in team sports. You're competing by being the best of yourself every day. And this is by your own attitude. How do you look forwards and become your best friend? So if this is fear and the fear of failures, is a lot of people are afraid of failures, and success and failures are not too separate. They're going in the same direction. So failure and success is in the same direction. Then my question was to myself, I asked myself, how comes there's so few people that are having success? So I came up with this question. I said, because they are afraid of failures. So, but why are they afraid of failures? Because they don't have enough self-esteem. So the next question is, but why don't they have enough self-esteem? Because they haven't met challenges. So the question is, but why don't they met the challenges? Well, the question is easy, because they are afraid of failures. There's only one way of having success, and it's not being afraid of failures, because some failures will come sometimes, and it's okay because you're learning from it. I know most of you are too young for that, but in September 9th of 2001, the two towers went down in New York, and I was there myself. And they asked us to go down and helping people to get out of those two towers. So I moved in, and the picture you see right there, this is a picture I took before I was going into the tower to help people. And I saw things that I should have never seen. And in my heart and in my brain, these pictures came back to me all the time. And I said, there's no way I can live with this. How can I get out of this anxiety of living with those pictures? And I find out that there's nothing I could do about the picture that I've seen and that I was seeing in my head. But I said to myself, the only way to move forward was that I did the best I could. I went there, I tried to help people, and I came back, and I wasn't happy about that day, but I felt that I was proud of myself, that I did the best I could. And from there, I had to be resilient, to move forward. And this is the same thing with any kind of thing we would like to put on the side. I know for some of you, you are going through a lot of anxiety, and you'd like to perform well because you'd like to, make your parents happy, make your teachers happy, make your coach happy. But are you happy yourself? This is the first person you have to make happy, is yourself. And if you're going through all of this and you're having sports and going through academy and having a lot of stress, you're not happy. And we have to put that aside. So anything you have to remove, it's like we have some stages of that. First thing is like we have right now, the COVID-19. No one asked for it, but it's there. And now because of that, our life has changed. But what can we do about that? There's nothing we can do. So if I cannot do anything about this, I have to move on. And I have to know the difference in between the things that I can change and things that I cannot change. Because if I don't not know the difference in between those two things, I'm going to spend a lot of times worried about things that I can change anyways. So I'm going to be stuck there, and that's where the anxiety goes bigger. And one day I can almost have depression and feeling bad because I'm stuck in a place where I have no control over my life. How do I take control of my life? When I make a decision to say that I cannot do anything about that, let's move forward. I'm not saying that I accept this, and that's why I put acceptation versus resilience. This is important. Let's go back to the beginning. At first, we all went like, wow, this is impossible. How could it happen? This is what it's called deny. Then we were all mad because some of you are graduating this year, you're not getting together, and you have all the rights to be mad because this is unfair. But life is nothing but unfair. It's always unfair, because if life would be fair, nobody would suffer on our planet. So love anger at first. And then you start to negotiate, wanted to say, okay, what can I do to change that? Then you find out there's nothing you can do. Then you have a lot of sadness. And then they say acceptation, but acceptation doesn't exist in something that I didn't want at first. Acceptation means I agree with this. How can we agree with something we didn't want? That's why I'm saying it's not acceptation in the stage of mourning, but it's resilience. Resilience means, okay, there's nothing you can do about that, but what can I change? I can change my perception of that and move forward. And as I do that, there's a lot of anxiety that goes down. It's same thing for performance. There's nothing you can do about the anxiety of your performance, but if you accept that nothing's going to be perfect, then the anxiety goes down. In Japanese, they say crisis, it's two symbols. The first one is danger, and the second one is opportunity. So in what we're going through right now, there's some danger, but there's also good opportunity. There's a reason I'm talking to you guys on this new technology. Could you imagine if the COVID-19 happened like only 30 years ago? We didn't have internet, we didn't connect to people. Now at least, I know we cannot get together, but we can get together through this technology. So there's a new opportunity for us to do things differently, to maybe do some teaching online, to talk to your friends online. So there's a lot of good opportunity going to this. And this is what I call taking back your own power. The power that you have is the power of how I will react to what's happening to me. And when I know that I have some power over my life, then that the resilience can come back, because resilience is about moving forward, turning quickly previous to condition after a problem. How can I move forward? It's this acceptation, not of the fact that what happened, but acceptation of the future, of moving and doing things differently. So for you that are going through anxiety with performance, accept that this is normal. You're not abnormal. You're not, this is okay to want to perform well, but you will perform well when you're having fun. You don't have to suffer a lot of anxiety. You can be excited. You can feel about a bit of anxiety, but not too much. Stress is good, but it has to be in a limited amount. If it's too much, then your performance will go down. The choice that you're making is the choice of, okay, I have the decision, how can I move forward? This is what I call certainty. The certainty of getting my life back. I'll say, okay, maybe I'm not the best one in here. Maybe I will not finish first, but I have the certainty that I can do the best I can. And this certainty that I have in myself of knowing who I am and becoming my best friend, that certainty will make you stronger and make you better in everything that you do and making you a better person. This is the most important part here. And who are you and how can you help people? When you do that, the uncertainty that you have inside of you will just go away. Smaller, and detached to where you were stuck. You were stuck in a lot of pressure and wanted to go well, detached to that in order to be able to change and move to the future. And the future is, what do you see yourself? What do you envision for yourself? What do you see the future to be? And we always person out of 3, they will make failures and they're changing. They try to change something, but they go back to their old habits. So knowing why do I don't want to have a lot of anxiety in my life anymore? That this is not giving me anything. So the end is I'd like to have as much success as I can, but having the end in mind, having fun and making sure that you see yourself succeeding. You have to see yourself succeeding, and succeeding is only being proud of yourself. It has nothing to do with having a medal, having a first prize. It has everything to do to be proud of yourself. When you look at Olympic athletes after they compete, they never say, well, I am so proud I finished first. They say, I'm proud because I did my best. Even though if they finish 3rd or 4th, doesn't matter, as long as they are proud and they've done the best they could. This is what the end should be. Keep in mind that you make a plan. Well, we have a plan, but most of the plan will be changing. When we communicate with our coaches and teachers, we adjust the plan that we have for the season. Then we have milestone. We wish to, get to some point during the season. And at the end, we'll make sure we do some changes. And the final evaluation of that is, did we succeed? In all of this, no one is talking about the celebration. And this is the most important part. Celebrate every small victory you have, because this is exactly like Pavlov. We ring the bell, we give the dog food, and the dog will salivate. But if we ring the bell and we never give food to the dog will never salivate. So never salivate is this. We have, sorry about the phone. The dog will salivate because he knows that there's a recompense coming in. There's a reward. Without reward, the dog won't salivate. Human being is conditioned also. We need to reward ourselves. And we need to reward ourselves every time we work hard. Not on the results, but on the attitude and the hard work that we put in. When you do that, make sure that you are celebrating every small victory you have, every small good attitude that you have. When I look at that picture, to me, in my head, in my mind, I'm saying, well, who just won? To me, the 3rd has won, but the first one did, because she's not enjoying. She's asking herself, oh, what's wrong with her? She's only 3rd, but she's so proud of herself that she has won. It doesn't matter where you finish, it matters how you are having fun in what you've done. The stages of changes are, all of this is going through our mind, but changes happens only when I can engage myself and say, okay, let's move forward. And this is for teachers and maybe parents that are looking at this. We always thought that time is money, and this is so stupid. If we go to an hospital, see people dying, and we offer them the time or we offer them money, what do you think these people are going to take? People that are dying will take time. Time is the most valuable thing that we have on this planet. Actually, time is my life. That's all I have. I'll have a date that I'll born and a date that I'll die. In between, there's only time. Time is what we have the most important things in our life. If that is the case, then we cannot waste time. And how can I not waste time? By making right decisions. When I make decisions for myself, when I decided to become my best friend, the decisions that I'm taking are shaping my life. Decision, and today I have a great news for you, all of you. You always make good decisions. I've never seen anyone waking up in the morning and say, oh, today is a shitty day. I'm going to take only shitty decisions. We don't do that. Most of us, we wake up and we have good intention of making right decision, but we regret a lot of decisions we've made. But if I replace you in the same place where you were at that time when you took that decision, I swear you guys would take back the same decision. So you did the best you could with what you had at that time. So don't judge yourself. Just, forgive yourself and move on. And when you do that, well, you move and be happier. And I put someone here who has back pain because in my conference, I'm always asking people, how many people have back pain here? And 80% of the room will raise their hand and say, oh, I had back pain. And when I say how many people in here have depression or anxiety, no one raised their hands. But it's funny, but in Canada, there's 64% of people that have taken anxiety pills or antidepressant pills. If you're not taking these pills, is it your dog? That's why your dogs are going like this. they're going like this with their tails because they're taking your pills. People are afraid of telling how bad they're feeling. And I know that we say men should not cry. And to me, I'm not afraid of men who are crying. I'm afraid of men who's not crying. Actually, there's 3 times more women than men with a diagnostic of depression. But there's 3 times more men than women that are taking their life away. So the point is not being afraid of showing your emotion. It has no age for that. Make sure that when you are feeling sad, when you're feeling anxious, talk to people. Tell them, you know, I feel anxious, I feel sad, and make sure you can talk about your emotion. And especially for young guys, we're not used to talk about our emotions. We talk about the Canadians, we talk about a lot of things, but we don't talk about our emotions. And I'd like that to change. I'd like the men here, the men and young men, not to be afraid of talking about your emotion. When you do that, things will change. But in our life, it's exactly like going to eat to the older people here on the chat that are listening to me. When you go to eat to a place, when you go to your mother's-in-law and you eat there, usually the food is not as good as your mom's place, you know, comfort food. And actually you have to go there once in a while just to remind yourself how good is the food at your mom's place. Well, life is exactly the same. Sometimes time is tough, and it reminds me how beautiful the life is. So what I'm saying here is that when you're having tough time, when you're feeling sad, feel your sadness, feel how bad you are, and talk to people. You can also see some advisor. You can go to see a psychologist and help you just to clean up your life and make sure that you're feeling happy. But when you're happy, make sure you celebrate. Make sure that you're happy, because life goes really fast, and it goes fast like crazy. And personally, there's 1% out of 5 that are great leaders. 3% out of 5 they're followers. They follow other people, and 1% out of 5 they're very negative. They always say, "Well, I'll be the devil advocate," and at the end of the day, we don't need that. We need people that are moving forward and helping each other. The way to do that is by not having the rectomyopia. Rectomyopia is people that have the optic nerve in their, and they're always negative about everything. You don't have to be like that. Just move forward and make sure you're the one helping people. How can I become that? Is physically, this is the pyramid of needs. The first one is the physical needs that I have. The security, we all need to have security. And the third thing is the socialization. So as human being, we need to socialize. We need to get together. Human being can only live through other people. Without other people, I don't know that I'm living. It's my connection to people. It's important. And then my self-esteem will get higher, and the achievement. And you'd like to achieve, if you'd like to have great achievement, you need the self-esteem at first. Self-esteem is how are you becoming your best friend. But most of the time, we're not our best friends because we don't listen to our needs. What is the needs that we need, you know, as human being is, first of all, the needs to express myself. The needs to be listened. You need, all of us, we need to be listened, and listen to people. Make sure you be recognized. Tell them how important they are to you. Make sure you're important to someone. Help people, and you'll feel so important. And then your stress will go down, because when you put your attention on other people, you'll diminish your stress. And the need to influence is, how can I influence people in the right direction? And the need to be yourself. Become your best friend. And the need to dream and have a project. Of course, you need those dreams. You're young and you'd like to move on in life, and don't let anyone destroy your dreams. This is so important. Make a dream and make sure that you stay, you know, connected. I've been working with Céline, and she told me one thing that I said, "Céline, can I take that and teach this to people?" She said, "Of course you can, Sylvain." She said, "People are always asking me the same question. They're asking me, how did I get to the top?" And actually, I've never get to the top. I went down instead of going up. I started my career by having my head and up here in the sky, and I was dreaming. But my family and Renee, that were down to earth kind of people, they took me by my hand, and they had me go one step at a time down, and all the way to this planet, to this ground. I've never been as grounded as I am today. And actually, she's right, because that's why she's still alive. Most people who have success like her, they lose their identity. They lose who they are. They belong to everyone, but inside they have emptiness. They have a big emptiness of not knowing who they are anymore. Their self-esteem, their self-condition doesn't exist. And their self-identity, who they really are, because they are public, known, but they don't belong to themselves. They have an emptiness. And that emptiness is so big that they feel that with drugs and all kinds of things because they're sad. And one day they die and overdose somewhere because they never find their own identity, who they really are, and stay connected to be grounded. So the point is this. First of all, don't be afraid of being vulnerable. Tell people, this is my weakness. Start with your weakness. Don't start to try to be someone else. Just tell, you know what, I'm good at that, but this I'm not that good, you know? And when you do that, you offer the vulnerability to other people. So now you have two persons that are offering themselves their vulnerabilities. When they do that, they are completely authenticity. They have authenticity in between themselves. And this is, I call, the most generous a kind of act. Because when I'm telling someone, don't try to be anything else than who you really are, this is being generous to people. Being generous is this. We have security. You can be yourself. That's okay. Don't worry. You can make mistakes. You can be, I don't want you to be perfect. No one of us is perfect. And this is great. Then when I have people security about being able to make mistakes, now we have confidence between each other. And that relation will last because we don't have to play a game anymore. We're not playing games with just ourselves. Don't be afraid of asking for help. Go to the psychologist, go to some people that can help you out. Talk to your teacher, talk to your coach, talk to your parents. Tell them, you know, I feel a bit stressed. And you know what they'll tell you? Don't worry about that. As long as you get 100% of yourself, that's okay. The result will come, but you don't have to be sick for that. So if you were sitting beside people, I would say, take someone else's hand. And if I told you that you would be stuck with that person for the rest of your life, I probably imagine that you would like to be with the person that you love the most. Well, you know what? That doesn't happen. But you know what? Take your own hands like this and put your two hands together. And I swear today, right now, the person that you're holding hands, you are going to be stuck with that person for the rest of your life. Is that person your best friend? So the point is, are you your best friend? When your friends are not doing too well, what do? You go to them and say, well, that's okay, you'll be fine. You know what, I believe in you, I know you can do it. And what you're doing is supporting them. But when it's for yourself, you are pushing yourself down. You are so tough on yourself, and that has to stop. You have to stop being tough on yourself. There's no way you can succeed if you're always putting and pushing yourself down. Put yourself up. Tell them, okay, that's okay. I didn't do the best. You know, maybe I could do better, but at least I've done my best. And then move forward, but become your best friend. By becoming your best friend is who you really are. I come from a family of 8. My parents, they tried 7 times before me. My brothers are so ugly, you wouldn't believe it. That's why they tried 7 times before they had me. When they had me, they went up, whoa, this one is good looking, let's stop it. I'm just joking, but it's true. My parents I had 7 brothers, and all of them are really good in school, and I wasn't good in school. So I had problem, I had TDAH, déficit d'attention, and it was tough for me in school. And because of that, I suffered a lot of anxiety younger. I suffered the anxiety of performing in school, but I was good in sports, so I put all my attention in sports. And one day there's a nun who came to me and she changed my life. I went to see her. I was in secondaire 3, and I was having a lot of challenges in my life in school. I was failing my school, and I was only good in sports. I was only good in phys ed, but all of the other subjects were not that good. And I went to see her, and she had me do a math problem, and I found out the answer. It took me a long time. And instead of saying, well, you're not very quick, she told me, well, you're very creative. And that helped me a lot. She gave me the permission to believe in myself. And I hope that this time that we're spending together this morning will give you the permission to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself no matter what kind of expectation you have and what is the result of all of your doing in life. It doesn't really matter. It's as long as you become your best friend and that you can believe in yourself. So I remember I was like let's go back just here. When I graduated from McGill, I decided that I wanted to create a team, a dream team. And my dream team was made of handicapped kids. And I had 13 of them. And I wanted them to become, the best they could in their sports, but having fun and knowing themselves better and creating a great self-image for them. So I remember one morning, one kid came to my gym, and he was in a wheelchair, and his mom was pulling him, and his dad was just beside him. And his name is Francois. This is the kid you see in the wheelchair. And he said, one day I'm going to be a world champion. And I look at Francois and I said, of course, going to be a world champion, and I will help you to get there. His dad looked at me. He said, don't give him false hope. He's handicapped. That's enough for him. I want just him to have fun, and that's it. Don't give him false hope. So I look at his dad and I said, I do believe that one day Francois is going to be a world champion. And Francois became a world champion 3 times, and he went around the world twice, and he went to the Olympics 4 times. So I was so proud of him. Then when he turned 16, we got into a tournament. It was in Florida, and it was held by the owner of the Miami Dolphin, the football team, the NFL. And we got to that place, and Francois is a world champion. There's 2,000 attendees. There's 2,000 players getting part of that competition. And he's the world champion at that time. So we went to a banquet for the champions. And he said, Sylvain, instead of going with my wheelchair, can I go with my walker instead? I said, of course, Francois, it's only 5 minutes away. So it took us about 3 hours. We took a walker, put it on the side, and we sat at that table, a round table. And all the people around the table, just imagine they're about in between 15 years old to 20 years old. And there's girls and boys sitting around at that table. And I'm making a lot of jokes. And Francois is sitting on a chair like us. Instead of being on his wheelchair, he's on a nice chair. And we're having fun together, and he's laughing so hard. And then I see his face becoming really sad. And I said, Francois, what happened? He said, Sylvain, I laughed too hard so I couldn't retain myself, just pee on the chair. I said, don't worry, this is nothing, Francois. We go back to the girl who just served us, and I told her, I said, could you move this chair away? We'll go get changed and we'll come back. The party just started. She looked at me and she started to tell me nasty things. And she was almost yelling at me and Francois. And Francois was looking all humiliated, and he was sad. But the owner of the Miami Dolphin saw us. He came to see us, and he said, what's happening? And I told him what was happening. And he says, okay, who owns this place? He said that to the lady who served us. And she didn't want to tell him his name at first. And then he said, no, give me his name. I'd like to call him. And she told him his name. He called him. He said, well, you have a great place. I'd like to buy your restaurant. The guy said, my restaurant is not for sale. He said, give me a price. The guy gave him a price, and he said, okay, I'll buy it. He bought the restaurant right there on the phone. He hung up the phone. He said to the lady, you are fired. At that time in my head, I said, oh, one day I'd like to become rich, just to have the power of doing things that I'd like to do to change people's life. And when Francois turned 40, he said, Sylvain, can I send you the letter that I'm going to send to my dad? I'd like you to read it before I send it to him. So I received this letter. It says, Dad, when a man has a son at his birth, usually they're very proud, but your son came in a very crooked box. But today I'm writing to you to thank you, to tell you how much I appreciate my life. But I'm also writing to say that I will never come back to you. All my life I was looking for you to see me play and see me perform. And you've never been there. But I went to see you play golf. I counted your shots. I went to see you do a marathon. So I was timing your timing. I was so proud of you. I wanted you to be as proud of me as I was of you. It never happened. So I decided to stop. But thank you for giving me this life. I started to cry, and I said, who am I to judge this person? I don't know what it is to have a son that is handicapped. I never had one. So I moved on and said, okay, if we cannot judge people, how can we change that? And it's by a souvenir. How do we make those changes? By taking things that are making us happy and put that in a scrapbooking. That's the important part. And the things that stress you or that you don't like that much, put that aside. Because as athletes or people performing in school, we are like just a flower. And you know what? We cannot pull on a flower to make it grow faster. But all we can do is to put them in the great ground. And the ground is all the people surrounding you. You're selected to be at that school, a great school. You have great teachers. Your parents are helping you. This is the This is the ground where you can grow. And if you do that, well, you have a garden. But first of all, go back to the root of how do we become a great athlete or a great person or a great person that performing in school. Don't push yourself down. Don't push yourself or pull yourself. Just encourage and support. If the parents and coaches are doing that, then you'll raise the person to go to the next level. But it's never by pulling people down or pushing, but really supporting and telling them how good they are. So the question is, how can we create people's self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-image? And I know for you, for most of you, this is all the same, but actually it's not the same. The self-esteem is what I'm worth. We always compare ourselves to other people. And this is my own evaluation of myself. The self-confidence is what I'm able to do. You know, what am I capable of doing? This is the evaluation of the task ahead. If the task ahead seems to be too high for me, that means that my self-confidence is not high enough. I have to build self-confidence to face any kind of challenges. And the self-image that I have is what am I going to look like? This is so important. This is my evaluation of the perception that others have of me. I don't know if that is right or not because I'm not in their head. The only thing that really counts is the perception that I have of myself. My own dream. What is my dream? Where do I want to go? And am I happy in what I'm doing? So the dream of Michel Therrien, Marc Bergevin, and Jeff Molson was to win the Stanley Cup. So they hired me to be the doctor in sports psychology. And I said to myself, what are they all looking for? They're looking for the Stanley Cup, right? So when you guys are looking for this, for something, what do? You go on Google. That's what I did. I went on Google and I tapped in Stanley Cup. It gave me Stanley Cup Drive in Vegas. I said, oh, I got the Stanley Cup. And it says, where do you start from? And I said, Montreal. So I have the way to get to the Stanley Cup. So I was telling all of the coaches and the assistant coach and the hockey staff, and I said, I got the Stanley Cup. It's in Vegas. It's going to take us 42 hours to get there. But first of all, because we start from Montreal, there's going to be a lot of traffic. And because it's Montreal, of course, there's going to be, they need pull, and there's going to be a lot of snow along the way that we are going. But we will get there only under one condition. And this is true for all of you. You will succeed only if you have no excuses. And no excuses will bring you far. So don't have any excuse, just move forward and be good with yourself. The leadership you need is to move forward by surrounding with yourself with other people, people that are helping you and get better. When you do that, communicate with people. If you need help, ask for help. If you need talk, don't be afraid to talk to your coaches. You know, I know there's a lot of athletes there, they don't want to go to talk to the coach and say, well, if I talk to the coach, the other people won't like it. And maybe my teammates will say, well, I'm trying to get things from my coaches. And this is untrue. Just go and ask if you need help. Make sure you're having fun every time you participate in anything. Fun is the key to reduce anxiety and to have great performance. Gratitude to all of your coaches and teachers. Never leave a room before you say thank you to your teachers. Gratitude will help you diminish your anxiety. Tell them how happy you are and tell them how grateful you are to what they're giving you. Celebrate every small victory you have. Every time you move forward and you're having some success, celebrate. Make sure you have all the small details. I asked Jeanette Renaud to sing the national anthems with the Canadian, and it makes the atmosphere to be so great, and that's why I'm standing just beside her. And all of the details, don't put things aside. Make sure you do the best. Be proud of yourself and be different. Just be different. You don't have to be exactly like everyone. We are getting stronger when we are different from one another. Appreciate other people that are different than you. And your teams, try to be friends with everyone. And every time you walk in a dressing room or in a classroom, ask yourself, how can I be the best teammate for all of these people here? And act according to that. Always ask yourself, can I be the best teammate? And I swear, if you do that, when you are going through a lot of anxiety and tough time, all of the other people will support you and help you. So succeed It's nothing about winning. It's everything about yourself. How do you perceive yourself? Succeeding is not always what someone believes. It's always about what you see. And it's not always what you see. Succeeding is not becoming rich or famous or powerful or controlling. Succeeding is waking up in the morning and living your day with enthusiasm. Every day you go to school, make sure you're having fun. You're enthusiastic. You love learning. Succeeding is being happy of what you will do during that day. Every single moment in your life, make sure you're having a good time and helping people to have good time too, and enjoying learning and enjoying advancing and moving forward. Succeeding, it's about people enjoying and being connected fully to life. If you need help, if you are depressed or anything, ask for help. But enjoy every single moment of your life and tell people how you appreciate them. Succeeding is to go to sleep at night and knowing that you've done the best you could. Be proud of the day. Just put all the effort and then don't worry about the result. The result will come if you put everything into it and you put joy and fun and hard work. Succeeding is about entering in someone's heart. And that's what I did on this presentation. I wanted just to get in your heart. And maybe if I said something that makes sense, you'll teach that to someone else. You will be the living proof that I'm living, that what I'm doing, it makes sense. Same thing for you. Make sure you get into people's heart and that you're helping other teammates. Become the best teammate by helping others. And you'll see your performance will get better. Succeeding is enjoying and your friendship and knowing that you love yourself and become the best you could. When you do that, it's not about love. You know, the way to diminish the anxiety is loving yourself and loving what you do. So have you ever loved enough to forgive? Forgive even to a stranger to yourself, knowing who you are. You know that you love yourself. Become your best friend and loving yourself. Do you love yourself enough to forget that you have sorrow? Of course, in our time, sometimes it's tough and we are going through tough times, but sorrow of not being loved. All we're asking for is love without asking to be loved. This is the end of my presentation, and I hope that this strong poem that I wrote says that tu déjà aimé, aimer assez pour pardonner, pardonner même à l'étranger, étranger avec toi-même. Toi-même, est-ce que tu t'aimes? T'aimes-tu assez pour oublier qu'on te fait de la peine de ne pas être aimé, aimer sans demander et demander qu'à être aimé. Go back to loving yourself and loving others, and you'll see your anxiety will go down. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you can take some of the pieces that I gave you and that you can move forward from this and helping other people, succeeding, but enjoying every moment of your life. This is so important. Thank you. We're not connected. This is just registered. So if you have any question, you can go on my website. It's sylvainguimond.com. You can write to me. My email address is quite simple, sylvain@sylvainguimond.com. You can call me. You can find my cell phone number is 514-915-5183. I know people are telling me you're crazy to give your cell phone number, but if you would like to get connected, how can you do if you don't have my cell phone? So you can call me and I swear I'll be answering the phone and I'll be helping you as much as I can. Thank you, Marco, for asking me to present to your people here. I hope that teachers, coaches, and students enjoyed this presentation. I hope that we can put aside a bit of our anxiety and performance will get better. It's always never to forget to enjoy every small moment. And right now you're very lucky. I know that you're in school and we always are looking to finish school and move on, but I swear this is the best time of your life. And I know a lot of people are telling you that, but you'll realize that when you get older and working and say, well, we were so good in school. We had all kinds of fun. We have friends. We enjoy sports. We enjoy learning. Make sure you are enjoying your life every single moment, and make sure you also are going and searching for help. If you need, if you're going through tough time, you have people at school, psychologists that can help you out. Marie-Noël, all kinds of people that you can go through and talk to, your coaches, your teachers. and parents, talk to your parents and tell them how you feel. And when you're feeling good too, you know, tell them how much you appreciate. Every day, gratitude is so important. It'll make you enjoy your life, but it'll also calm a lot of anxiety inside. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and maybe we'll meet in person soon. I hope soon. Thank you.